was this equation, right? Do you have the other one? Seem to have the space. It's okay. Alright. So, Aaron, get this equation? Yes?
Yes.
Please be loud and admit that you don't if you don't. Be loud and proud that you don't. Okay. So, now, like we just talked about, right? I've just told you that at any depth, if you move radially, right, your delta P does not change, right? Am I making sense? So I can integrate over the radius, and I can have the same delta P along all the points on the radius, right? The pressure changes. Yes. How does the pressure change? If I pick any point, if I pick any inner point on this well, and any outer point corresponding, right? What's the pressure at the outer point? 3,000. And the pressure at the inner point is dependent on the depth, right? Am I making sense? This difference in pressure does not change as you move like this, right? Am I making sense? Right? Does not change. So, I can integrate this equation with respect to R. Right? I can integrate this from, okay, let me call the inner boundary RW, right? And the outer boundary RE, right? Does that make sense? I'm going to call it RE, external, right? So, I'm going to integrate this from RW to RE, right? And this, how does my pressure change from the inner to the outer boundary? How does my pressure change from RW to RE?
PW to PE.
PW to PE is a great answer. What's my value of PW?
1,000 to 3,000.
No.
From 1,000 to 3.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I want you guys to completely understand this concept. When I integrate on both sides, when I integrate this from RW to RE, right? The other side, depending on what I'm going to integrate, I'm going to look at those values, right? Does that make sense? If I'm integrating along the radius, RW to RE, right? And I'm integrating pressure, because pressure is the one that does not change, right? I can easily integrate that. Does that make sense? The delta P does not change, but the pressure changes. Am I making sense? So basically what I'm saying is, along the radius, your pressure changes, right? So you integrate along the radius, the pressure. Am I making sense? Right? You integrate along in the direction whatever property changes. For example, the next step that I will do is integrate Q along Z. Why? Okay, I will integrate Q along Z. Why will I do that? Flow changes at different depths is one answer, right? Why is that answer correct? Why does flow change at different depths? Is at every single depth, go on, what pressure changes? The well pressure changes, so delta P changes, right? Does that make sense? I will integrate along in that direction what property changes along that direction, right? Does that make sense? So, radially, I'm going to integrate the pressure. What's my pressure at RW?
1,000.
Well, someone said PW. That's a good answer, right? And that's this number, right? Am I making sense? Right? And what's my pressure at PE? At RE. 3,000, right? I'm just going to say PE right now, right? Because you can put in any number instead of PE, right? So, dq by, what's the integral of dr by r?
That's a
ln of re or rw. Does everyone get that? So, dq by 2 pi, right? dr by r, integrating it gets me ln of r, right?
When you go from RE to RW.
Yes. I'm just taking it slow because there are people understanding it from different backgrounds for whom this is all something different, right? I'm just taking it slow for them, right? ln of r from RE to RW, right? RW to RE. Does that make sense? Right? And now if I evaluate this, d cubed by 2 pi ln r e minus ln rw, right? Right? And log a minus log b is log a divided by b, right? That's why you get ln re divided by rw. Am I making sense? Right? Please do stop me if there's anything over here that you do not understand yet. Yes?
Why did you put DQ and not Q?
Why did I put dq? Why? It's a great question. Great question. Why?
Because the flow is changing.
Because the flow is changing.
In terms of DR?
No. What in terms of what though?
DC.
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Flow is changing in terms of dz, right?
Okay, yeah.
dq is changing in terms of dz. That's why over here, when I wrote Darcy's law, I wrote. Can anyone see this at the bottom? When I wrote Darcy's law, I wrote dq by 2 pi r dz, right, is minus k by mu dp by dr. dp changes with r, and dq changes with z, right? Does that make sense? This is the equation that I've rearranged to get this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you rearrange it, you kept Q on one side because you want the flow rate at the end, right?
Yes, I'm gonna integrate the flow rate at the end. Yes,
Yeah.
you can do it in any order you want, but this is the order that in my mind makes most sense to you, right? Does that make sense? Right? Look at this. Like the way you write this equation should tell you everything, right? Q changes with Z and P changes with R, right? Does that make sense? If P did not change with R, you just write delta P by delta R. Doesn't make a difference. Over here it doesn't, right? Over here it doesn't. Am I making sense? But I just wanted to get to this form, just so you know what to do if it does change, right? Right? So ln re by rw. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes? Okay. Equal to minus k by mu delta p dz, right? And what's delta p?
It's the 3000
It's PE minus PW. Yes, PE minus PW, right? Same thing. Same thing over here. I can do the same thing over here. I can take minus k by mu, right? Right? And if I integrate dp, it's just p, right? From PE, from PW to PE, right? And that's going to be PW P minus PW. I'll write that as delta P, right? Or let's say I write this as P minus PW. Doesn't matter, right? P minus PW dz, right? Does that make sense? Right? This is where your question comes into play, right? How does this matter? How is this going to affect my problem now? This is PW, right? Does that make sense? So I'd go 3000 minus 0.5 Z minus 1000, right? Right? dz, right? Is that good? I have simply, this used to be P minus PW, right? This used to be P minus PW, right? P external is 3000, right? PW is this, right? Is there anyone here for whom this does not make sense?
Can you repeat that last part?
Which part?
The PE, what is PE? And what is
Okay, so did you get, when I integrated this, you get P minus PW? Did you get that? Yes, okay, cool. You got P minus PW dz, right? PE is P external. I just call it P external, right? The outer pressure, what's your outer pressure?
3,000.
I'm sorry?
3,000.
3000, yes, you know that for sure, right?
Yeah.
You know where that came from? It came from your question, straight up, right? 3000, right? Where did PW come from?
Pressure of the well?
Yes, pressure at the well. Where does that come from?
From the well.
No, yeah, so the well will not tell you it. If the well tells you the pressure, how much easier would everything be? God. Just the reservoir tells you the variability, the well tells you the pressure. I mean, we wouldn't be engineers. We wouldn't be paid so much. But it would be a dream. But PW is the pressure at the well, and it depends on the depth, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the problem. The problem says the pressure at the top of the well is 1,000. The pressure at the bottom of the well is 1,100, right? And we interpolated this. We got the equation for this to be this, right? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
That's PW. Why? That's the pressure at the well.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? So so this is 0.5 Z plus 1,000, right? And when I subtracted these, I get 3,000 minus 0.5 Z minus 1,000. Am I making sense? That's what I wrote over there, right? I just wrote 3,000 minus 0.5 Z minus 1,000, right? Make sense? So, what do you do next? So what? Integrate over the depth. Why? Because
It changes with them.
yes, because with this formula you can get the flow rate at any slice, right? Am I making sense? But you want the flow rate added up over all the possible slices, right? You want the total flow rate along the entire well. I want everyone. So I had a question asked about this, and I want to make sure everyone gets this part, right? Oh well, right? How do you think flow happens in the well? If I have a point over here, right? Flow happens straight in, like this, right? Does that make sense? This is how flow happens in the well, like that, right? Right? From the top view, this looks like this. That's a horrible circle, but you get my point. There you go. Right? From the top view, it looks like this. From the side, it looks like this, right? Does that make sense to everyone? Right? So, if I take a slice like this, right, I will have flow along the slice. See, nowhere here does flow go up or down. Everything is in the horizontal plane. Right? Does that make sense? Flow does not go, these flow arrows don't go up or down. They go in the same plane. Right? Does that make sense? I just wanted to make sure that everyone got that part. Right? Now, I wanted to integrate along all of these slices, all of these horizontal slices to get my flow rate at every single point along this well. Does that make sense? To do that, I integrate along the depth. Right? Cool. So let's do that. Integrating over depth. And what are my limits on the depth?
0 to whatever is given 200.
The depth is 200. The depth is 200. Right? So what are my limits on the depth? 0 to 200, right? Am I making sense? Does everyone agree with that? For the Z, right? Z goes from 0 to 200, right?
You get like 0 high now, you get 0
No, if your flow is corresponding to that of T, right?
It's 0 to Q, right? So basically it's going to be the same. This is Z.
Yeah. The limit for Q is basically you're just going from the top to the bottom. That's it. So it's basically Q is right. Yeah, corresponding to the height, right?
So it is Q, right?
Yes, this is Q. This is Q after integrating. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because what Dr. Holly does is he.
Okay. Stop. I can't hear this question, please.
So what Dr. Holly does is he integrates between 0 dq, but the limits would be 0 to q, so you'll get q.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's important to say dq because you want to know that it changes, right? You want to know that you have to solve for that. You have to integrate for q. Does that make sense? it's important to say dq because you need to know that you need to integrate over q too, right? Does that make sense? Right? So you go 0 to q, right? 0 to 200, right? Am I making sense? So it's that simple. So 0 to 200. So let's not say 0 to 200. Let's say 0 to h. You know, let's say some random number. If I say h, then I can plug in any number, right? So how is this going to work? Now, the left-hand side is q by 2 pi ln re by rw, right? Do you know all of these numbers?
Yes.
Are you sure? Yeah, the answer is yes. I'm just playing. Right. Okay. So over here, how do you integrate this?
We just see.
Everything
No.
No. No. See, now I'm really asking you. Are you sure everything is constant?
Yes.
Yeah, you put
Yeah, we have the-
PW is not a constant.
Right, so it's gonna be.
Right?
It's changing by your
Exactly.
But it's in terms of z.
I'm sorry?
It's in terms of z. Wouldn't be the rest constant?
Yeah. PW, the rest will be a constant. PW is in terms of z. Right? You can't just say, okay, this is wrong. Saying this is wrong. P minus PW, z is wrong. Do you agree?
Yeah, I
Does everyone agree that that's wrong? Why is that wrong? Because PW depends on z, and how do you leave that unintegrated, right? PW depends on z. Does that make sense? How does PW depend on z? This thing right here, right? So PW depends on z, and what you need to do is you need to go k by mu PE, which is 3,000. Just leave, okay, 3,000 minus, right, 0.5 z minus 1,000, right? Times dz. Times dz. I've not yet done the integration.
No, because these are going to go out, right?
Well, everything else is going to go out except the z, right? But I'm not yet integrated it. I've just substituted this into this, right? Does everyone get that? I've just put these values into this thing there. That's it, right? Now I can integrate this from 0 to h, right? How do I do that? K by mu 3,000 is k by mu 3. So
Why wouldn't we just deduct 1,000 from 3,000
oh yes, okay. Let's just do that. Let's just do 2,000 minus 0.5 z. Maybe I took things too slow, right? So I can split this up, right? I can split this up into k by mu 2,000 dz, right? Minus k by mu plus k by mu 0.5 z dz, right? Right? And each of these are from 0 to h. Right?
Is it H200?
Yes, h is 200, yes. 200. I'm just saying h because if Dr. Holly gives you a problem with 300, you can still use this. Right? So how do you integrate this? What's this integration?
Take a constant out and you stay with z.
You have z, right? That's it. So you have k by mu 2,000 times z, right? Right? What's the thing over here?
Z square over square over 2, right?
Z square over 2. Does everyone get that?
4.
Right? Yes?
Over 4.
Yes. What?
Over 4.
Oh, yes, over 4. Thank you, sir. Doing our subtraction multiplication for us. All right. So z squared over 4 is the integration over here, right? And z over here, right? Does that make sense? So now you have both sides of the equation. This thing is equal to this thing, right? I think I saw a hand above. Yeah, what's up?
How'd you get that integration from the second part?
This?
Yeah, you went there and then you, for the second part.
So what I can do, so integration of a dx of a plus b dx, right, is a dx plus b dx, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's all I did over here. Integration of k by mu 2000 minus 0.5 z dz is k by mu 2000 times dz minus k by mu times 0.5 z times dz, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I integrate them separately, right? And we all succeeded in doing that. That make sense? So we what did we get? We got minus 2000 z, right? Plus a by mu z squared by 4, right? Right? And this is equal to this, right? Q by 2 pi ln Re by Rw is equal to this, right? Do I know everything in this now? I know 2, I know pi, I know Re, right? What's Re in our problem? Re is 100, right? 100, right? Rw, right? So Rw is also given, right? And K,
You assume that 100 millidarcy or whatever is given.
K is 100 millidarcy, right? K is 100 millidarcy. Viscosity is 10 centipoise, right? Right? Z, I mean, Z is actually H, right? Sorry, this is actually H, right? After integration. Integration was from 0 to H, right? I was H. So H is 200, right? H is 200 over here. So you know everything. You can calculate Q, right? There you go. Does that make sense? It's not going to take you this long to solve the problem, right? Because you're not going to talk and write things on a board in the exam. But the point is, as long as you remember what you have and what you don't have. Yes?
Oh, what happened to the 0.5?
Where?
For the second portion.
Oh, I just made it by 4. He insisted. I had a 0.5. I had a 0.5. And then I had z squared by 2 from the integration. But then he insisted that I make it z by 4. See, the chaos that I get when I take requests from my students. Does that make sense? Anywhere along this point that you got lost. Is that good? So this is basically it. I know this was very, very specific to this problem, right? But the principles are the same if you go. For example, what's the time? 7:18. Okay. If you have a problem where you have, say, a box like this, right? Let's say layers, right? Linear, not radial, linear, right? This is your output, this is your input, right? Making sense? All the thicknesses, let's say the thicknesses are not given, right? Let's say, let me reframe this problem. Right, let's say the permeability changes linearly. Permeability at the top is 100 millidarcy, right? Permeability at the bottom is 200 millidarcy, right? Right? Let's say permeability at the top and permeability at the bottom, and let's say flow is happening in this direction, right? This is X. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to have you guys tell me how to start.
So we have changes of permeability, so we integrate for K.
I don't want you to use the term integrate. It's just we're just solving for the two constants.
You decide what's changing and what's
Okay. Does everyone remember the first step here?
You need to find K along the change of K.
We have 2 points.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. The question is there is a reservoir, right? At the top of the reservoir, right, where the depth is 0, like the thickness is 50 feet, let's say, right? The top of the reservoir permeability is 100 millidarcy, right? The bottom of the reservoir permeability is 200 millidarcy, right? And let's say I know viscosity. Let's make up some number for viscosity. Let's make up some number for the pressure drop. Right? Let's say the pressure over here, everywhere over here is 2000 psi, right? Pressure everywhere over here is 5000 psi, right? Right? Is that clear? Is the setup clear? Yes? Did you get it? What's your first step?
Find the equation for K. Set of equations.
Find the equation for what?
Pressure.
Pressure or permeability? permeability, right? Why?
It's
Because it's
changing.
changing with depth.
It's changing with depth, right?
So you can use the equation of line. No? The
Yes.
slope.
Well, if they say linearly, whatever equation they say, if they say, okay, let's say they say permeability changes of the order a z squared plus bz. Can you do this?
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Exactly. Why not? Just plug the numbers in. That's it. Literally, that's all you need to do, right? If I tell you that the permeability varies according to this equation, that means that I'm telling you that these 2 points also follow that equation, right? Am I making sense? So I can have 100, right? Is a 0 squared plus b of 0, right? I'm an idiot. This really won't work out. But let's say a squared plus b, right? Hey, just give me a break, right? I'm making this up. Right? So let's say k1 is a of 0 squared plus b, right? Right? And then k2 is a of 50 squared plus b, right? Make sense? Anyone who does not get this? If you don't get this, there's really nothing because this is your first petroleum engineering class. So anything goes. 2 years from now, people will not be this forgiving. But right now is your chance to make use of every single question that you can ask. If you don't get this, now is the time to go.
So the 100 and the 200 is your permeability?
Yes.
Okay.
So this will be 100 and 200, right?
Oh yeah.
Right?
And the diff is 50.
I'm sorry?
Uh,
Does that make sense? Okay, so I can say B is 100, right? Right? And A is whatever, I can't do the math like that. Right? And it's 200 minus 100 divided by 2,500. 1 by 25. I did do the math. Okay. Okay. Okay, so you get this A and B, right? Now, what's your next step?
Darcy.
What was it? What are the equation, right?
Right? Sorry?
Right, Darcy.
Right, Darcy's law. And what's Darcy's law for this system?
So just the area is going to change because it's.
Okay, let's say this. Let's write it in terms of dq and all that, right? And then we can rub off the d if it doesn't change, right? Right?
So DQ.
Okay.
Over
DQ.
H times width.
Okay, so this is the box, right? And the width of the box, which is going into the board, is w, right?
Times the.
Let's say, right? Does that make sense? Right? So, what's A then? W times what? H, and what's H? 50, right?
50.
Yeah. That's it. That's the same.
What is W?
Is the width of the box? It's basically like I can never find a box I need. Okay, this whole thing. This whole thing, right? Right. So I'm flowing into this thing, right? This is my height, and this is my width, right?
Yeah.
This is W, right? I've just drawn this face of it. W is going into the board,
Okay.
like this, right? It's going out, sticking out, right? We got it.
Yeah.
Could have just done this. Alright. Anyway, W is the width, right? And the flow, what's the flow area then? W times 50, right? Does that make sense to you? Right? Are you sure? You look unsure. Does that make sense for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So this is W, and this is H. Right? So anyway, so let's move on to Darcy law. Okay, dq by A, and we've described A. What other parts of Darcy's law are there?
K over mu.
Negative K over mu. dp over what? dp over?
DL.
dx.
Yeah. Whatever you
dx, right? Whatever my variable is, I can call it dl if I wanted to, but I'm not. Right? Right? But see, what is my element? What is my differential element here?
Square, right? That's okay.
What is a slice? So I can slice. Okay, I'm going to give you two options, right? I can either slice it this way or this way, right? Right? Which way, if I slice it, will I get constant properties in the slice?
Vertical.
Okay, who's this vertical? Who's this horizontal? Well, come on, let's do it one at a time. Horizontal and who's this vertical? Okay. Okay, this show of hands is the worst thing ever. Okay, calm down. Now, how does if I take a slice like this, or let's start with the problem. If I take a slice like this, right? What's the problem with this?
There's going to be a series of
Probability is changing all along the slice, right? So you can't take this differential limit. Does that make sense? Probability is going from 100 to 200 inside that slice.
I was confused by your notation. Now I understand.
Try using that excuse in the exam. So, no, okay. Now, if I take a slice like this, right? What do I have? Do I have constant properties or no? Look at this equation and tell me, right? Look at this equation and tell me if I have constant properties. My K is the same. My viscosity is the same. The pressure drop is the same. Why? The pressure drop is the same. It goes from 2,000. It goes from 5,000 to 2,000, right? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Right? Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So, what differential element am I going to take? Like this, right? So, if I do that, what are the dimensions of my differential element?
X is changing.
See what?
X will be changing.
Okay, so it's x, right? So it's whatever the length. Say this total thing is L, right? So it's L, right? And what
changing? No, wait.
See what?
L's not changing, is
No,
it?
L's not changing. So that's the length. So
okay.
if I take a slice like this, the length of the slice is L, right? Because it's not going to change. And what are the other dimensions of it? It's not H. It's
W.
it's L. It's okay.
L times
it's
W.
L, W, and
DH.
DH, right?
Yeah.
DZ. Am I making sense? Okay, if I draw an element like this, what are the dimensions of the element is my question, right? So the length is L, the length is L, right? The width is W, right? And the height is going to be DZ, right? Right? Because I'm taking a slice like that, right? And the thickness of the slice has to be DZ, right? Am I making sense? Yeah, sure. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
People can also laugh at my 3D skills.
Howard can drive it.
Howard. That's good.
Look at that. Suck it, Howard. 3D draw.
I vote Mr. Howard.
Good, done and done. Even have a tree next to my box. Alright, whatever, man. Hey, look at this. He's clearly winning. Okay.
Dude, that's
I'm going to use this. Thank you. Thank you. So, does it make sense now? Right? That's the slice, the vertical, thank you. No, that's the vertical slice that you're taking, right? And the dimensions of this vertical slice are L, W, and DZ, right? Does that make sense? Why do you need to take DZ? Well, why does your slice need to be DZ thickness?
Because that's the variance of permeability.
Exactly. Because it needs to be DZ because it needs to be thin enough that we can say, hey, all over my slice, I have the same permeability. Right? Does that make sense? If it was thicker, then you'd have changes in permeability, right? If your slice was, say, instead of DZ, let's say it was a 10, right? Then you'd have changes in permeability along the depth, right? Am I making sense? But it's DZ, it's really, really thin. It has one permeability. as you slice it. Am I making sense? Right? Are we clear? So, H becomes dz. Right? Is that clear? Now, what changes and what does not change? What does not change over here?
Flow. Flow doesn't change.
Flow changes. Flow
The
changes because it's in parallel.
The
Pressure doesn't
flow
change.
changes. The flow changes. What does not change?
Pressure.
The pressure drop does not change, right? Am I making sense? No matter where you go here, the pressure drop does not change, right? So we can say delta P by delta X, right? Right? Does that make sense? Or delta P by L, right? Why? Because the pressure does not change, right? So delta P by delta L. Now this is easy. This is extremely easy. Why? You simply have to say, so where do we go from now? We rearrange this to say dq by w, right, is minus k by mu delta p by L dz, right? Right? And integrate it where? How? It goes 0 to q, and where do you go for z?
0 to H.
Hold on. Let's make it clear. Hold on. So how do you integrate z? 0 to 50, right? 50. Yeah, H is 50, right?
Nice.
Fine? Okay, awesome. Now. Okay. Yeah, so that's fine, right? Is that cool? Yes.
Do you not take it as dk because on the slice the permeability is constant through the slice?
Yes.
That's the
No,
reason you
yeah,
don't take
but
dk.
see, we know the permeability which changes along in. If you take a slice, we have one permeability, right? The permeability does not change in that slice, so it's K, right? Along dz, all along dz, all along this slice, everywhere on the slice, permeability does not change, right? I'm gonna go back. Right? Does that make sense? Everywhere, so you don't take dk. That's a great question, though. That's a really good question. It's not dk because the nature of your slice was
What if you take it vertically?
you can't. Well, if you take it vertically, you're just making life so much more difficult for yourself. So much more difficult. What? Is it difficult already, though? Right? Enough. It's enough. It's difficult enough already. Right? So we do this, right? So K is K. Do you understand why it's not dk? Right? So now we know that K is whatever function Dr. Holly made us derive, right? In our case, it is 1 by 25 z squared plus 100. Right? Right? Does that make sense? You cannot just say K by mu d delta P by L z. You cannot. Why? Because K changes with depth, right? K depends on depth. It's not a constant. By mu delta P by L dz, right? Now, can you integrate this? Yes. What's the first term on integration? These are all constants, so these all go out. What's the first term? 1 over 75 z cube, right? From going from 0 to 50, it'll become 50 cube, right? Make sense? And this will just become 100 times z, right? It'll become 100 times 50, right? Does that make sense? And you're done. That's it. That's all there is. Look at this. This side is q by w, right? And this side is integrated. And you know everything now. That's it. That's it. So from this point, I can change the problem any way I want. Let's say my pressure also changed. Let's say my pressure also changed. What would I do then? Let's say my inner pressure. Hold on. Listen to this carefully, right? Let's say my inner pressure, instead of staying 2,000, went from 2,000 to 3,000 linearly, right? What would I do? After panicking, I would say, right? AB is AZ plus B, right? Does that make sense? To everyone.
Yes.
Does that make sense? And then I would substitute in P1, Z1, P2, Z2, find A and B, right? And then what would I do? Integrate, but I've already integrated. What would I change is integration. What would I change here?
So you put delta P, A becomes 0. The P last one minus whatever you get the P.
There you go, that's it. So, I'll just rephrase what he said, right? In our previous adventure, we had our K to be 1 by 25, Z squared plus 100, right? Right? What was our delta P then? Look at the image and let me know. What was our delta P? What is our pressure difference across our system, across L? 3,000. Does that make sense to everyone? 5,000 minus 2,000 at all depths, right? Does that make sense? So I simply did 5,000 minus 2,000. That's it. Across Z, it was 5,000 minus 2,000. I did not care. It was always 5,000 minus 2,000. Does that make sense? But now, if this changes from 2,000 to 2,000 at this point, what would I do then? The function, right? If, let's say, my function is 0.5 Z plus 2,000, right? Right? What would I do then? So I'm going to write the answer. You scream out loud if you don't get it. Hold on. I'll give you the chance to scream. I'll move aside. Don't worry.
So you haven't integrated yet.
No. That integration sign says that. Yes.
The pressure's just changing at the end.
Yes. Okay. So what's going on right now? Now it's my turn to explain. What's going on is the outer. Okay. Just give me a second to explain, and then I'll take a question. Just give me a second. The outer pressure is 5,000, right? Right. The inner pressure goes from. Hold on. Just a second. The outer pressure is 5,000, right? The inner pressure is, what's the inner pressure?
From 2,000 to 3,000.
Yes, it's changing. Yes, thank you. But it's this one, right? Yes? Does that make sense? Right? The inner pressure is this. So what's my delta P? 5,000 minus this one, right? Right? Does that make sense? So I write that. I say 5,000 minus this expression, right? Hold on. Just look over here. You'll have a chance to read whatever he's writing. Hold on. Just pay attention over here, right? God, for God's sake. Just look over here. For 5 minutes. I'm almost done. Right? Yes.
Why your inner pressure is changing?
Because that's my condition. I'm telling you, this is a new problem. I'm telling you my inner pressure goes from 2,000 to 3,000.
And the permeability.
And the permeability is also changing.
And also.
Right? How do you do that? It's extremely easy. You just change the delta P. You just do the same thing for pressure, right? Same thing. You get a function for the inner pressure, right? Am I making sense?
Yes.
You would get a function for the inner pressure, and what's your delta P now? It's 5,000 minus the function, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Not really sure.
What are you stuck on?
So you said 5,000 minus the function?
Yes. Why? Why the function?
So the output minus the input.
Yes. The outer pressure minus the inner pressure.
Your input is changing, that's why it's a function.
I don't like when you say input, because this is the input,
Okay.
right? Let's
Yeah.
let's just say higher pressure minus lower pressure, right?
Okay.
Higher pressure is constant along the height, 5,000. Lower pressure goes from 2,000 to 3,000 in that height. Does that make sense? So I got an equation for it. I struggled long and hard, and I got this equation, right? Does that make sense? Right? And this is my inner pressure now, right? Does that make sense? This is my inner pressure. So, when I do this, I can simply say outer pressure minus inner pressure, right? My delta P is going to be outer pressure minus inner pressure, right? Does that make sense? Does this make sense to everyone now? Right? So can I integrate this? Yes, why not? There's going to be 4 terms because you there's going to be 5 terms because you multiply this, right? No, 6. I'm sorry. You're going to multiply this with this with this and then this with this with this. But yeah, of course, 5,000 minus 2,000. Yes. Does that make sense? Right? So you can now multiply this and then integrate, right?
Can you split it up?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You multiply and split it up. You need to multiply to split it up. You can only split up addition, not multiplication. You cannot split up AB dx as ABX, ADX times BDX. You cannot do this. Right? You can only split up addition. You cannot split up ADX if it's ABDX. You cannot write ADX times BDX. Right? You cannot do this. Right? You can only split up addition. If it's A plus BDX, you can go ADX plus BDX. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So what you need to do is, you need to open up these brackets, you need to multiply it throughout, right? Multiply all these terms, you'll get, if this is 3,000, right? So you'll get 4 terms, right? And then you split them up. Does that make sense? Yes? Right? That's it. So now you integrated, now you had a reservoir where permeability is changing and pressure is changing, right? Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Yes.
You said, okay, you gave us first that the permeability is changing, we integrated, and you added that the pressure is changing.
Inner pressure, yes.
What if from the beginning you gave us the permeability and the pressure changing? Can you do a double integral?
That's what I'm doing right here.
Over.
Yes. Right now the permeability and the pressure is changing. No, I'm adding both. Both of them are happening at the same time.
Okay.
Permeability is changing and the pressure is changing. So K, instead of K, I substitute the trend for K, right? If I use the term trend, I mean, this is the trend, this is the way permeability changes with depth, right? This is my trend for K, this is my trend for P, right? Does that make sense? Right? Is that clear? You sure? Alright, great.
So, can you touch on gas reservoirs?
Yes, yes. What's your time?
15 minutes.
Can we make it 8:30?
20 minutes.
Can we make it 8:30?
It is 8:30.
We'll make it 8:30. Because I wanted to go over one more thing before I moved on. All right, calm down. Right, one more thing before you say I can do any problem with changing properties. Right, one more thing. What if your properties did not change with depth? What if it changed with length? What if it changed in the flow direction itself?
So the limits would be
The
length.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what I mean right now. Hold on. Look at this. Calm down. Hold on. I'm going to set up a new problem right now, and I want you to guys, if you understand this, if you understood the previous problem, and you understand this, I'm not sure why you wouldn't solve any problem. I'm not sure why you wouldn't kick ass at any problem.
Alert from system UI server.
Right,
Low battery.
Let's take a well, right? And let's take a reservoir where you have flow radially in, right? But the problem is the permeability changes radially with radius, right? With radial distance. Am I making sense? So this is the top view on your reservoir, right? So as you go from this point to this point, right? Your permeability changes as a function. Let's say 3R.